All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Thank whoever sent you here. To my regular listeners, you guys already know how I get down. I bring on some and cry. And probably I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world because I have been blessed to have some absolutely incredible people that have just a unique perspective and have a drive, have a passion to come on this show. And today is no different. Her name is Miss Cristina Arribas, and we met actually. It was like a fitness event, one of the hundreds of fitness events that I go to. So I can't even tell you the name of it, but I'm always at some sort of fitness event. And out here in South Florida, there's constant fitness events, and I'm always in one of them, as you guys know. And she's actually a pacer for a very well-known run club out here in Miami. She has done a lot of stuff in the media. And then, well, before I even let you go, because I have to mention this, I gotta say it right off jump. This is the first Emmy Award winner.
Oh my God, no.
This is the first Emmy Award winner that we've had on this show. So with all that, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I've been excited. I've been kind of keeping up with what you do. And I think the best way to start off is because I am one of the people that's a firm believer that sports is a teacher of life and, learning as a young age to incentivize young people to participate in sports, especially young females, learning to incentivize them to do it. It helps build their character, build their confidence, build just a level of wanting to get better every day. And you have expressed to me that you were really into sports. I even think you referred to yourself as a tomboy growing up. So why don't we kind of go back there, talk a little bit about your experience in sports, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, so definitely was a big tomboy growing up. I was very much playing outside, hide and seek, all those fun games. Didn't really care about fashion that much until I got older. But yeah, so my sports journey started from my parents. They pushed me into doing a lot of sports. So I played tennis, did
Mhm.
some ice skating, soccer. And then when I went into high school is when I really kind of found my sport, which was water polo. So I used to swim a little bit beforehand, but I never really enjoyed the loner aspect of it. I'm very much a team-oriented person. And then in high school, freshman year, I jumped on the team, loved it, ended up playing for 7 years. So I played 4 years in high school. I was obsessed, had no life other than water polo, would play club and would travel around as well. And then in college, I played for UF for a couple of years on their club team, and we
Gators,
also got.
them Gators, baby.
Oh yeah, go Gators! Yeah, for sure. So I loved it. Sports for me brought me out of my shell. I used to be super shy, and to the point that people thought I was rude because of how shy I was, because I just wouldn't really speak.
Right,
And then when I joined the water polo team, you have no option but to speak, to talk to your teammates, to put yourself out there.
right.
So that kind of helped me break out of my shell that I was in, and then became really good friends with everyone on that team. Still to this day, I am. But it gave me another sense of confidence. So I think that's where sports is like amazing when you're able to succeed in a task that maybe you had issues with. It gives you like this whole new sense of confidence to then be able to bring that into other areas of your life. So 10th grade, I became captain of the team. I was telling you, I was like obsessed. Like freshman year, I just like went all in, played club, everything. 10th grade, I became captain of the team. So I had no other option but to use my voice and really
Right.
be a leader.
Know
And I
that
always,
feeling too, yeah. Well, was it a situation where you got voted captain by your teammates?
no, it was my coach. My
Coach.
coach
Right,
chose, yeah,
right. So the thing is, and I've been a captain on several teams, and that's the reason I bring that up is
yeah,
you're right, especially at that age, when you become a captain on the team, now your peers are looking at you as a leader, whether they voted you in themselves or your coach looks at you and says, "Hey, you're one of the people I see has leadership qualities. Whether you like it or not, you better open up your damn mouth now because
yeah,
now
yeah, yeah, 100%.
you're looking at you and they're saying, "Hey, we need guidance and things like that." So that's actually I didn't even know that actually. So now it leads into what you're doing now in terms of the run
Yeah.
club things of that nature. So, but go ahead. I didn't.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, for sure. I had no other option, and I've always been lead by example type of person. So if I'm putting in the hours, I want the rest of the team to put in the hours, not, I'm not gonna slack off or anything. So yeah, I had no other option. And then with the club team as well, we would play all over the US, which was fun. Like went to Junior Olympics, all that. So it just brought me out of my shell and gave me this entire confidence that I didn't quite have before, which is why I love sports. And you celebrate that with a team, which is even better. And then you build a bond that is so indescribable. I think if you play sports and you've been part of a team, you know exactly that feeling. So it's always been a part of my life, always will be a part of my life. And then, yeah, that kind of led into now the run clubs, where I'm one of the pacers for Brickell. I started out in the Western Run Club after I graduated college. So I've been doing this now for close to almost 9 years, give or take COVID days where we had to pause for a bit and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it's been great. I think if you have the opportunity to play sports, even no matter what age, you should definitely jump onto a team because it
So,
teaches leadership, responsibility,
right.
so much.
So educate not only myself but also the listeners as well about what it actually takes when it comes to water polo, because I know it as the Olympic sport, but that my
Yeah.
sister was a swimmer, and but you know the fact that there's the team aspect in the water and stuff like that. What's the training like? What's the regimen like? What's the day to day for your typical, someone that's really into water polo like you? Which again, this is another first. You're the first real like one that was dedicated to being a water polo player on this show. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I
I can
look
see
back and I'm
your
like,
face light
how?
up when you get to talk about it too.
Yeah, because I love it because you don't hear it very often. So yeah, actually water polo is one of the oldest Olympic sports. So yeah, well, I in high school when I first started, we would do high school practice. So right off after school, it was like 2 hour practice. And then I would get picked up and then by my parents and then taken to my club practice, which was another 2 hours. So in between that, I would like munch on some snacks.
Yeah.
We like have all the knowledge that there is now of like the electrolytes and like the
Right.
stingers and take the waffles and all that. Or at
This is
least
in
I
Miami, right?
in Weston. So I grew up in Broward. So
This
when I moved from
Florida
Venezuela,
sun, the Florida sun. So that's why I was getting that. This is in South Florida.
yeah, this is South Florida, but my practice, like I went to Cypress Bay High School, and then my club practice was over in Dania, which is like 15-ish miles. So it was like this constant back and forth. So it was kind of like when it was in season training with a high school team, it was close to like 4 hours of practice for me. And then at night, I would like do my homework, all that. The next day, repeat it all over again. We would practice 5 times a week with the high school team, and then off season I would do club teams. So it would be, if I remember correctly, like 3 or 4 times a week, also 2 hour longs.
Right.
And then we were always pushed to do in the middle of that, like some type of weight training as well. So senior year, so I actually wanted to get recruited. That was my main objective. My entire high school career was recruiting, getting recruited.
Right.
And I did end up getting recruited. I just never went. I turned it down last minute. But I got recruited to play D1 in a college up in New York. And I turned it down last minute, which don't, no regrets whatsoever. But then in college, we did, even though we were a club team, they actually were pretty strict about it. So we had like 4 practices, I think, if I remember, like a week. We would travel a lot. UF was very, very well known for their water polo club team. Like we were pretty good. And then, yeah, and that was it. And then I didn't end up playing my last year and a half because I got an internship. And obviously at that point, college, graduating and all that was a bit more important than polo.
Yeah.
But to this day, I still miss it. And I actually found a team here, so I'm going to start playing again.
You did? No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah,
Really?
I found an old team I used to kind of go to sometimes, allows like masters because now I'm a master. I'm old,
And you're gonna
to
be
go
competing
and
and stuff?
play. Huh?
They're gonna be competing against other teams and stuff?
Yeah, they compete. Yeah, yeah, we'll
Oh,
see.
man,
We'll
you gotta
see.
set me a schedule. You gotta set me a schedule. I'll definitely come out and support that. That's
Okay.
awesome. I didn't even know that. So yeah, but you beat me to it because my next question was gonna be about what your college experience was like. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of the reasons I was talking about before in terms of what sports actually does, because you would express to me that when you were home for breaks, this is when you discovered these run clubs, and
Yeah.
you, like me, hated running, but now
Yeah.
you're doing Ironmans, you're doing half marathons, you're basically a pacer. And you were saying how, hey, it helped you open up more, helped you break out of your shell and develop that sense of community that
Hmm.
everyone needs. Everyone needs that support when it comes to figuring out
Sure.
their career. And in college, especially in college, because I've been to quite a few different colleges, that's a difficult transition. And what year did you graduate?
I graduated December 2015. So I was supposed to graduate 2016, shorten it. Don't ask me why.
Literally, social media and Instagram were just becoming a thing where
Yeah.
everyone is hiding behind these phones. It really, it was,
Mhm.
especially during that time, it's hard to
Yeah, Snapchat had just launched.
I
That was a big
mean,
one.
it was just absolutely it's just insane. So I'll let you kind of speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, so college was, I studied advertising for UF, University of Florida. Loved it. I did play a lot of intramural sports along with water polo when I was up there, mostly because I had a good group of friends who were also very active. And then when I would come down during my breaks back home, I was like, well, I still need to stay in shape. Like I up there, I would started liking to like I started to like running because of the stadium. So UF allowed their students
Oh,
to run up
baby.
and down the football stadiums.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so badass. I was like, this is so cool. Like, where else do you get to go and like run up your stadiums? And like, you just felt very like, like Rocky, like, yeah.
Oh, man,
That's kind of when I,
I gotta experience that because I do want to experience a game in the swamp, man. I do. I really do.
yeah, oh, they're so much fun. Yeah. So they would let you do that for students, and not every college allows that. So it was a lot of fun. Definitely took advantage of that. And then when would come home for summer breaks, one day I was just walking and I see this massive group of like runners, and I'm like, what is this? And I just went up and I asked, and they're like, oh, it's the Western Run Club. Like we just started like a couple weeks ago. You should come in every Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's free. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I've never been shy. Like I've never been one to shy away from going to things by myself. And I think that's very important because sometimes you rely a lot on your friends or like someone to come with you, and you can miss out on a lot of great opportunities. And also, sports kind of put me with that confidence of like, it's me. I got to show up for me, not so much for someone else. Right. So I showed up by myself. It was a lot of fun. And then that's kind of how I started to like running,
Mhm.
because back in the day, when I used to play water polo in high school, my high school coach would punish us by like she would condition us by making us run around the track like at 3 p.m. in
Mhm.
Florida. So we would all die. So I
Just
just
the end of the day,
yeah, I
right?
just had a like horrible experience with running, to be honest. So I started with this club, and again, it was that team atmosphere that I really liked. I met new people.
Mhm.
It was fun every time to go and then to push yourself and kind of like compete a little bit with one another. And I'm very competitive, so I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's how I started running. And then I would come back down from college. And then when I came back down the last time for winter break, yeah, it was winter break. I
Mhm.
mentioned like, oh no, I'm graduating soon. And that's how I got in. The leader of that run club, which was Carla, who's actually Frankie's wife now,
Right. Yeah,
was
something like that, right? I think, yeah,
Mhm.
she's a nutritionist or something like that now, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah, she's awesome. She was the one who brought me in because I told her like, oh, I'm graduating, and then she was moving out of Weston. She's like, oh, I need someone to replace me.
Hmm.
I know you come all the time, you really like it, and that's kind of how I started with the run clubs, and this was in 2016.
Right.
So, and then from there, I've just trickled. So I would do Weston, I would do Doral on Mondays when we launched that, and then Tuesdays Brickle. So I was like nonstop running like crazy. And then COVID came, had a break, and then now back to just Brickle.
Well, there's a couple things that we have to peel back from
Let's
that,
do it.
especially for high school coaches. And I remember I coached high
Yeah.
school for 2 seasons, and we had a great strength coach my second year. His name, shout out to Phil Trin. He would make a point to let the boys know, I will never teach running for punishment. He said, it's a lifelong activity, and I will never do that to you guys because it's something that you should be doing just to stay in shape. I'm not gonna put that psyche in your head. So the reason I bring that up is because your coach, and I'm sure she's a great coach, but a lot of coaches make this mistake. I've been in college, coaches make this mistake where you teach running as a form of punishment. It's not a form of punishment. It's something that's great to do, and it's something that's going to get you in shape. All right. Now,
Yeah.
if did you have any did you want to interject at all? Because there's another
Oh
point.
no, I agree. For us, it was more of conditioning before actual season started. But again, if you, especially in Florida, if you're putting run like people to run outside, you kind of have to also understand the heat, like everything, the humidity. So it was just torture. But it wasn't so much like, let's say like punishment, like, oh, you have to run because you didn't, like it was more like this is part of the conditioning and it just
Part of the
happens
deal.
that it's a
I
lot
got
of running in
Now,
Florida.
okay, you're a different sport. I was a football guy, and again, these football coaches make this mistake over and over and over again.
Yeah, especially for football.
It
That's
makes me sick. The next point I want to make is now you compete in Ironmans, you compete in half marathons and all that, but you do also have a very demanding career. And I'd love
yeah.
for you to just share how you're able to not make excuses because I've met a ton of women, I've met a ton of people that would have a demanding career like yours and put in a ton of hours and say, I'm not running it, I'm not doing that work, I'm not putting in it, I'm not gonna, there's always some sort of an excuse. So can you please just kind of debunk and speak to these people that come up with some sort of an excuse because whether it's their career or they got kids,
Yeah.
they got to cook, all that kind of stuff. So kind of put that to bed a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely days that I'm exhausted and
Every day, everyone
but
has that
but
day.
yeah, for sure. And that's normal. And I think that's something that, it's a balance. So I don't see doing sports or doing a workout class as a punishment. I don't have that mentality around it because for me, it's always been my happy place. So I think if I were to give any advice to someone, it would be that kind of is making up those excuses and no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I would say, well, what's your mentality around that? Like, are you really tired, or is it because you are afraid that when you show up to the class, you're going to be dying and you're
Mhm,
not going to be happy because maybe 4 months before you were able to hit that time and now you're not?
mhm,
And I think it's just about reframing the mindset that you have towards working out and sports, like doing a gym class, going to the gym. I look at it always as that's my happy place. That's where I get to feel my body as well and
mhm.
push myself. And that's the part where my competitive side comes out a lot. And I love that part about myself. So I will for sure make it a priority to go.
Right.
Again, just disclaimer to anyone listening, I don't have kids, so I know that that's a really big factor. And I applaud moms that are able to, like, I know some moms right now on the team who like are doing Ironmans and they have crazy training schedules, and I'm just there with in awe because that takes a lot. So I think I would just first say reframe the mindset that you have towards working out
Mhm.
and then start from there. And
No,
then when it comes to my job, sorry.
no, go ahead, because I'll
Yeah,
let you.
so
Uh,
yeah, my job. So I work for Paramount Media. I work as a product manager for their Pluto TV streaming app. And thankfully, I am remote in a way. I mean, it has its pros and cons, obviously. So I do have a little bit more flexibility. But before I moved to Paramount, I worked for close to 5 years at NBC for their Telemundo network. So I was also a product manager, but I worked in sports.
mhm,
So I was in my happy place. And yeah, I would have to get to the office, this is before COVID, every day in the office. And to me, again, like going after or before to a workout class wasn't a punishment. It was more of that's where I'm going to let my stress go. That's where I'm going to push my body. So I always enjoyed it. And every time, like, I want to say 90% of the time, when you do a workout, you're always so happy you did it. And I know it's so cliche, but it's so true. So my job is very
I
demanding.
honestly, I'd say the only time I remember not being happy is when I just went too far and cramped
Yeah.
up. The only like
Yeah.
if you got through it and without being like severely hurt, then you're gonna be happy. So
Yeah, yeah. You always put and sometimes those classes that you don't want to go to end up being your best classes. I don't know why, but the days that I'm like, oh, I'm good, I don't kind of want to make the effort, they end up being the best
mhm,
classes.
yes.
So or workouts. So yeah, I worked during like I did have a very demanding when I was at NBC. It was a lot of fun. I loved my job, but we worked with the World Cup, with Olympics. So some were late hours, some were or I mean, during the World Cup, I had no life. It was the World Cup all the time, which I loved, and it was so much fun. But yeah, so that's
So
kind
was
of
this
where
the one that just passed the with
no,
Argentina?
the Russia World Cup,
Well, no.
Russia Women's World Cup. Um, so it's just all about finding that balance. So during that time, I knew that work was more of a priority, and maybe my workouts kind of, I would still work out every, at night. Obviously, with the run clubs, if I could make it, I would go during that time, but work was more of the priority. So you just got to find that balance, frame your mindset, change it if it's a bad one towards working out, and really kind of stay with yourself because I got injured and I sprained my ankle, couldn't run. I was doing so well before that. I was hitting like 8 minute per miles. Like I was just like finally getting into my stride. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I got injured. And then to get back into it after that, I was so just mad at myself. Not mad at myself because I wasn't my fault that I got injured, but I was just so like frustrated.
Right.
And I remember kind of being like, okay, well, there's only going up from here. Like I kind of hit my base, like my low, let's say, there's only upwards from here. And that's kind of how you have to reframe your mindset with that.
So when you're talking about reframing your mindset, and this is something that you can probably coach me on because I do
Okay.
like you, I have the competitive edge. However, I don't think it's helpful when I take the competitive edge and start comparing myself to others. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I attempted to run my first marathon this past year in 2023 in October, and I ended up dehydrated, cramped everywhere. I was basically a DNF after my half. They had to get an ambulance come out and they had to get,
Oh my God. Was
yeah,
this
the whole
Miami?
this was in Sebring, Florida. This is Sebring, Florida. I didn't
Yeah.
run with anybody. In my mind, I just wanted to be a marathon runner because I run every single morning. It's my piece. It's kind of like my meditation. So because I put it out there, I said I'm running a marathon. And everything just fell flat on my face. And the issue that as I kind of sat back and it was rough. I don't know if you've been to Sebring, but there's nothing there. So it's like absolutely nothing there. I was just me. My phone was in my where's my no, I didn't have my wallet because everything was in your car to basically run. The only thing I had was my phone and my headphones, no wallet, and I had to figure it out.
Oh my God.
Like I had to drive back to my hotel, cramping the whole thing, and I just went in the tub and just sat in the ice. It was a mess. I actually wrote about it. I'll send you the article where
Yeah.
wrote all about it. So that's another reason actually I contacted you too because I need support when it comes to this kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
as I reflected on it, I realized that it was me comparing myself to others, other
Mhm.
marathon runners, other people that, once I won my first age group in like a 10K or whatever, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
let me get up to the mar. I felt and I joined the run club. I'm like, I gotta get, and I'm comparing myself to people that actually coach cross country and actually been doing it their whole lives. And I'm starting
Yeah.
like, yo, Aswan, you gotta slow down. So kind of speak to someone like me who has this, you want to compete, but then you get into the aspect of comparing yourself to somebody
Mhm.
else, and that can potentially hurt you or discourage you and things like that. So
Yeah. Like with everything, even in life, you can't compare yourself to others. It's hard. It's easier said than done, let's say.
that's
So with me, for example, I just started my triathlon journey this past year, let's say, and I just did my first half Ironman in May. And I have a lot of friends who are in this world who are top athletes. Like they're great, they're fast. Like one of them made it to worlds, like things like that. So you're just there like, oh my God, that's gonna be me. I'm
right.
gonna and that's great. And it's amazing to have a goal for sure. But then, kind of reality kicks in. You start doing the trainings, you start seeing that it's really hard. And the way that I saw it was more of like inspiration, not so much comparison. So
Uh-huh.
I saw my friends who had already done it. I saw friends who are doing it who might be faster than me. And I saw that as like, I am so inspired by you guys that I'm pushing myself even harder to try to get to your level.
Wow.
And again, even being a pacer, I'm not the fastest one on the run club.
Mm.
Definitely not. There's other pacers who are faster. There's other runners who are faster. And I see that as like motivation and inspiration to want to get to that level if that's your goal, right? Like some
Right.
people just, and that's totally fine, just
Mhm.
want to do their runs and enjoy it. And that's also great. But yeah, so my advice would be to see it more as an inspiration and motivation rather than comparison. And if you do catch yourself comparing yourself, which is normal, I think that's just a human trait we have, is kind of ask yourself why. So what is it that I'm so like, why is it that I need to get to that level? So with my half that I did this past um month, I mean in May, wow, I can't believe it's been more than a month.
It's
Um
telling you.
I when I first started in the race, I was like, oh, I gotta beat this time. I gotta get this time because like I know that I'm faster than this, and like I know that like my friends did this time in their first, and I want to get under them. Totally normal. And then I kind of like had an incident on the bike during the race that kind of like pulled me back in and was like, hold on a second. The whole goal of this particular race, since it was my first one, was to enjoy it, to have fun, not
Mm,
to make a time. It was to enjoy it, to complete it, and still have a smile on my face. That was literally my goal,
right.
not to like have to beat it. So I think there are times where you do want to put certain goals, certain times, because again, going back to sports and being athletes, that is a main motivator. But when you do find yourself comparing yourself to others, just take a step back and see it more as an inspiration that one day you'll get there if you put in the work to get there. That's
Yeah.
another thing. If you're comparing yourself to another person and you're not putting in the work, then don't even bother. Like if you're putting in the work and you're there and you're showing up, you will get there. Just give it the time and be consistent and persistent.
Right.
So,
I think it's kind of the one caveat, the one downfall when you do have a sports background, because like me, football helped with my acceptance issues.
mhm,
Football
yeah,
helped me fit in somewhere. I actually mattered on the football field being a part of a team. And when that's taken away from you and then you have to go find it, whenever there's physical activity, I want acceptance. I want like, even when I'm out here in West Palm Beach, and we do a track workout every Wednesday, and it takes me back because it's underneath the lights, and the sun doesn't come up, and
yeah,
I'm there with the team. I'm like, this is
yeah,
I love this. So the acceptance issue, sometimes it's something that I'm still learning to this day myself, to manage
mhm,
and say, hey, look, these are people that have been doing it for years. They're actually cross-country coaches. This is what they do. Learn from them, get better.
yeah,
Don't stop competing. I'm the last person to tell you to stop competing, but do not get into that trap where you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And I love how you say inspiration instead of comparison, because you're right. The majority of these people, as you become adults, and you got people who are voluntarily waking up at 5:30 in the
yeah,
morning to go work. These are not assholes, all right? They want to help, because it's so few of us that actually commit to do it every single day and on that level of commitment. They want more people. They're not there to make you look bad, or they're not
100%.
there. It's not going to be like high school where you
Yeah.
get the coach who's screaming at you. No, they want you to get better. They want to be friends. They want to build community. And that's what I think is so great about what you do. So, with all that, well, go ahead. Did you have a thought?
No, I was gonna say same with the run clubs. I hear all the time that people are intimidated to go.
Mhm.
And I'm like, don't be intimidated. Everyone here, even though, they may come off quiet and or stand, everyone here is nice. Everyone's here is for a purpose. And I found way more of nicer humans in sports than outside of sports, let's say, because everyone there is kind of there to push each other. And if you're better than me, then I want to get to your level and vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
I remember actually meeting Frankie for the first time, because at this point he was like a celebrity, because at that
yeah.
point I've been running like every single day nonstop for years. And when I got out here, I wanted to put on my own race named the Move Swiftly Marathon. And the first name that was brought up was Frankie Ruiz. So I kept up with his journey. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I've gone to actual conventions where he's spoken and Zoom. I'm like, and there was I think Stay Fit 305 had a 5K. And I was like, yo, I just want to shake your hand, man. And he was like the most down to earth dude. He was like,
Oh
so
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I
Frankie's
was like,
awesome. I
man,
mean,
you're
I
like a
owe a lot to
celebrity to me
Frankie.
all these years, but like, man, you just like real cool dude. You got Nike, which you got the whole, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
even know. He just walks across like, yeah, this is what I do.
And look, I can tell you, so for when I was in NBC Sports, I got the opportunity to interview the entire Olympic team of 2020. Well, before COVID, this was in
Yeah,
2019. I
right.
got to interview like all the top athletes, like Ashley Johnson for water polo, like the
Wow.
swimmers. Yeah, like
That must have
the
been awesome for you.
Oh, I was in heaven. I was like, this is like, I've reached it. Cause I mean, obviously if you're there are people I admire and stuff.
Yeah,
And I can tell you that they were so down to earth,
right.
so nice. Every single one of them was like, just also shy, also like, oh, this is like
Right.
taking it all in, it's like the press, it's a bunch of interviews, it's all the NBC layout for the promotional content that they filmed for the Olympics. And it was just like they were so nice.
Mhm.
And then so yeah, I just always have that takeaway of like how nice, even the top athletes can be.
Mhm.
So it's always whenever people are like, oh no, I'm intimidated, I don't know. I'm like, no, just go out there. You'll be surprised. Like, and hey, and if there are people who are, not the nicest, that's on them at the end of the day. That has nothing to do with you. So,
It's kind of
but yeah,
the way the media portrays us athletes. I mean, what makes stories, what makes news. I could see
yeah,
it. They control the minds of the masses, and it's easy. It can be easy to assume that top athletes are assholes because they are so dominant in their sport, and that's what the media likes to portray. So it
yeah,
takes people like myself, people like you, and people like Frankie who open it all up and make it so working out and being physically active is a necessity. It's something you have
yeah,
to do. Health benefits for your community, for you to just continuously push yourself forward because you don't want to be in a situation like Robert Kiyosaki says in Rich Dad Poor Dad. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just paying bills. You're just paying rent.
mhm,
You're just paying rent, just trying to hold down a mortgage. That is the word that was like a nightmare to me because my mother would wake me up every single morning, tell me to go take a run. That concept of just
really,
paying rent, that's what she would do. Yeah. Like that concept of just paying rent and just being that dude that's not physically fit. I can't take it. Just the mindset in general. So,
yeah. Especially nowadays with everyone also working from home,
huh?
having a place to go. Like for me, I work from home now and I am a very social person, if you couldn't tell.
Oh,
I need the run club.
right.
Like for my own well-being, besides like the physical aspect, just to socialize, just to meet new people.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy when I see like all these groups forming because I think it's bringing everyone together again. And that just makes me really happy overall.
Right, right. So I do want to be very respectful of your time and things
Yeah,
like
you're good. Don't worry.
can you just kind of tell like what is next? What do you see coming down the pipeline, whether it's your career, whether it's a run club? I know you had actually mentioned, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it now, but you might jump in the podcast hosting game with us as
Yeah.
well. So, talk to us a little bit about what's next for Cristina Arribas.
Yes. So what's next? For sure gonna maintain the run club. So I'm gonna continue pacing, knock on wood if nothing happens. I owe a lot to Frankie. He's given me so many awesome, amazing opportunities. So for sure, I love that. That's my passion, I would say. And then next, I'm gonna do another Ironman, another half Ironman this year. This one I'm gonna take a little bit more with the mindset of let's try to like beat a time, get under the time I did for this one. And then next year, full Ironman, that's on the list. If no injuries, nothing happens, definitely I'm gonna do a full Ironman. And then on the career aspect, continue growing with Paramount. Maybe well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, continue growing with Paramount for sure. And then more on the personal career aspect, what you mentioned, I've always loved podcasts and I've always wanted to get into a podcast world. So I'm actually working on a little passion project to see if I can jump into that for the following year. And that would be like my passion project, trying to do a hobby that's not so much killing my body every time and
Right.
focusing more on, but yeah, so those are the main things. But the big one for sure for next year will be complete a full Ironman.
Absolutely. And I'm here for it. You just let you say the word. I will be here for it. I'll be the first guest if possible.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Yeah. I'll probably be reaching out to ask you some more questions.
Yeah, well, I have a couple ideas for you before we'll talk about that after recording. So, with all that, Christina, what I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use
Okay.
your imagination a little bit. You are back to being the tomboy you were in high school. I believe you mentioned too you were in a band, you're water polo,
Yeah, I was in
all
bands.
sorts of, I can't imagine being in South Florida and being a tomboy was easy socially. So pretend that little girl, that young high school girl, just clicked into the Zoom room. Give her some words of encouragement. Just tell her how things are going to be, and we'll officially close with that.
Oh, wow. Okay. I would say it's okay to use your voice. I was very shy out of fear of, saying the wrong thing or, getting someone like making someone mad at me or whatever, I would say it's okay to use your voice, to put myself out there, and to just continue being happy and welcoming, because I think I was always like that, because that goes a long way, especially in today's world. And yeah, and everything's gonna work out the way it's supposed to work out. So,
You meant
and
that.
yeah,
Keep,
I would
keep
say
going.
that. There's
It's your younger self. Keep going. Say what you got to say.
Yeah, no, there's nothing. I love being a tomboy. I think
That's
it made me appreciate also other things as well. I mean, I love fashion now, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I still have that tomboy in me. Like I will still like climb a tree. I will still like go jump into the lake or whatever.
yes,
So yeah, and it made it fun. So
an
I
absolute
would say it's okay to, sorry?
outgoing personality.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And also, it was fun to compete with the boys. I think that's where I got a lot of my competitive aspect from as well. So,
Well, this has been incredible. I can't wait to kind of see what you got going on and keep up with your journey and things like that. All you fellow teammates out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.